back to the channel. Today we're gonna drive a beautiful Grand Wagoneer Series 2 Obsidian, and I'm gonna give you guys my impression. This is my first time driving this SUV, and I think that I'm gonna be happy because it has a 6.4 Hemi, has an 8-speed transmission, and I think it's gonna really hit home. Let's get started. We're gonna do an MPG run today too, so I will reset the Trip A or Trip 1, whatever they call it on this one. That way you guys can see that. So we're going to put it in drive. You have this really cool dial. It's all finished in metal. Kind of like the rest of this interior too. And this does have the air suspension. So I'm going to put it in, let's see what mode this is. You do have like a spot too if you'd like to see where you are. It says aerodynamic ride height achieved. So it dropped down a little bit. They have normal. You have off-road 1, off-road 2. Then you have entry and exit 2. But this should be the good spot for cruising. All right, so it's already in drive. We're gonna have it in automatic mode too. And then let's just get down the road here. So I love the steering wheel. It's just a 2-spoke steering wheel. Very clean, very easy to use. Steering is really easy at low speeds. I'm gonna go ahead and reset the fuel mileage though. Alrighty. This is just, whew. They even have like a different like chime for the turn signal too. Sounds luxurious. Now you do have a leather wrap dash up here too, and I don't know if you guys can see, but you do have a heads-up display. So it makes everything a little bit more simpler when you're driving. Keep your eyes on the road. Oh man, you can hear that roar. Oh, it sounds so good. Wow. And when you let off on the gas, it just goes away. This is truly the way to go. If you're gonna buy a big SUV like this, you really have to consider that 6.4 liter. I know that you can't get it in the Wagoneer, but if you can afford that Series 1, you can always have it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about the new 3-liter twin turbo that Stellantis is about to announce. So if you really do like the V8, I strongly recommend that you jump on it ASAP, because once it's gone, it's gone. So I think that when you hear that rumble, oh my gosh. You can hear it outside too. When I remote started earlier today, you could clearly hear that rumble. It just sounds so menacing. But it would definitely be the engine I choose. So if I was in the market right now for one, I would jump on this ASAP. Going around the curve for a 6,000 pound SUV. I don't know how heavy this one is, but I'll be sure to put it in this video. This does not feel like it weighs that much. It really does feel like a nimble performance SUV, and that's going to be in part to the air suspension. The way they tuned it, it just seems to be, in touch with the road well. Now you can see on the right hand side, I'm going about 45. I'm kind of going uphill. Actually, you know what? I'll save the acceleration for when we get on the highway. I think that'd be a better shot. But we've only gone about 1.5 miles, and we're at 10.6. So I don't know. That's not that great. So we've only stopped twice, but the steering is a little stiffer, so as you get up in speed, that's a good thing. And you do have that sport mode too. And you do have that high definition mirror too. And out back, with that third row seat up, you can still see, you can drop the headrest down on each side, and that does pick up a little bit of visibility out back for you. I had the cooled seats on earlier. I'm gonna turn back on again. They work really well. You do have functions for your seats too. Like if you really want to dial in your seat, you can see that they really do think of everything for this big boy. And if you're still not comfortable, you have the option to really dial in your seats. And you can feel it too. It's really comfortable. These seat massagers work really good. This does have a 22-inch wheel, and I believe these are 285 45s tires, or Goodyear. There's not a lot of road noise, and even when you hit a few bumps in the road, it's like a pillow. Like, it's really dampened extremely well, and that is the air suspension in part, but those tires seem to be helping a lot too. Now we're about to hit the brakes. There's a stop sign coming up, and I'm going to come to a complete stop for a few seconds. So here we go. Oh, yeah, these brakes are very, very tight. You don't need much to stop this thing. It just is really confident. So we're going to come to a complete stop here. So I don't see that this has a stop-start function too, so just keep that in mind. You can control these mirrors here on the side if you want to adjust them. I have to adjust them a little bit. Yeah, I think that's good. They have convex on both sides. Oh wow. There's low-end torque all over the place. I'm not even trying it, it's just the power's all there. Like, it's like ready to go. And as you can see, we're about 15 MPG. You can see in the gauge here that it does show you the speed limit for the road. I probably shouldn't be showing that because I'm incriminating myself. Let me slow back down a little bit. But yeah, overall, this thing is amazing. It has a 26.5 gallon fuel tank. That's pretty on par with the other manufacturers. They do about 24 to 26 gallons typically. And you have this huge sunroof too. You can open it all the way out back too. Let me go ahead and open that screen a little bit more for you. And you do have a smaller sunroof out back too. I'm sure you guys can see it back there. But yeah, when you open it all the way up, the sun comes through here. It just feels like a nice house. So I think that Jeep really did put everything into this SUV. I enjoy driving them. I've driven the Wagoneer with air suspension, and it's really another level. So here's what's powering the beast. This is a 6.4 liter Hemi. Get it while you can, because this is going away, I think, for the most part. I think all the big block V8s are going away soon. But this is going to be good for 471 horsepower, 455 pound-feet of torque. Made it to an 8-speed transmission, and for the most part, that transmission has been pretty reliable in the truck segment. So I think you'll see the same instances here with the Grand Wagoneer. One thing I'll mention, it is really hard to tune a big SUV to have good road manners. And what I mean by that is, when you're on a back road like this one, and you're taking corners and you're slowing down and you're having to maneuver this thing, it's really hard to control something like this. But Jeep really, I know I might sound like a fanboy here. Look at that beautiful house over there. It has black paint windows. Very fitting for this video, for this Grand Wagoneer. But when you think about this, it's not that I'm just giving kudos to Jeep. This really does handle like a proper sport SUV. Like, I'd feel bad for Mercedes and BMW if they did bring out like an SRT Grand Wagoneer, because they've already dialed this thing in just enough to really, walk with the best of them. And again, this thing is heavy. So we're gonna get on the highway right now. I'm gonna show you guys some acceleration. I'm at 16.1, and we'll be able to get up to about 75 to 80 miles an hour too. I'm gonna slow down a little bit, let this car go. Visibility out the windows are amazing. And there's just so many different safety features for this thing too. So I really want you guys to really pay attention to the shifts too on the RPMs on the left side here. So be very observant of all this. All right, so I'm going 40, I'm going uphill just a little bit. So here we go. This is the one I would pick. I used to sell Cadillac Escalades. I'm a huge fan of the Toyota and Lexus brand of SUVs. This is the one I'd pick. I would definitely take a chance on this because I feel right at home in this thing. I mean, going 75 miles an hour, I'm gonna click it up just a little bit, 78. Oh yeah, this is amazing. The fit and finish, the ride, the overall appeal, it's just all there. I would definitely buy one of these for my wife in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even let her know I bought her a car. Like, hey, I got your new car, and she'd be mad for a little bit, but she'd get over it after she drove it. She's like, oh, this is amazing. I mean, who wouldn't want a $100,000 SUV too? That's the other part of it too. But yeah, I love the way this feels. The steering is definitely, stiff enough for me. If you were to put it in sport mode, let's see what happens. Normally, only that sport mode does for bigger SUVs, it just changes the transmission, how it shifts, things like that. But okay, so the steering is super tight now. Oh yeah, you see that? Like you can probably see wherever I'm pointing it at, it's going in that direction. So it tightens up the steering really nicely. And I'm not sure if it changes the air suspension, but it definitely does feel more nimble on the steering. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's holding the gear. It's holding the gear too with the sport mode too. Oh yeah, that's great. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it on the radar cruise control now. So you can, change the distance to, they're going way too slow. Let me get out of this lane. Yeah, this is the way to go here, guys. This is 100% the way. Something I don't normally do a lot of, in like my wife's car, she has a Lexus ES350, is turn the cooled seats down. On my truck, in this Grand Wagoneer, the way that they set up the ventilated seats is what they call it, is it sucks the air into the seat. And my wife's car, it pushes air out. So I think that when it pulls the air in, I don't know how they're able to do it, but it must create like a vacuum type system for the seat. And it's a lot more effective. And you have to turn the seat down because it's almost too cold. Now, if you fart, I mean, anyone in the back seat might have to feel that wrath, but nevertheless, I mean, the seat does work really well. I have the massager on, and it's definitely, it's on its lowest setting, and it feels really good. Alrighty, so we're off the highway, and here's another look at that MPG. So I wasn't expecting to get much more than what you're seeing here. I mean, this is a all-wheel drive SUV. It's heavy, and it has a pretty big displacement engine in it. So I would expect to get about this, if not a little bit less. That's what I would probably land for. So this is the big bucks. This is the big league. So you're going to pay a little bit more. This does use premium fuel. That's something else you have to consider. If you're going to buy this, you got to put that premium fuel in this thing too. So just keep that in mind. Now, that little screen over there, I mentioned in the last video I did on this one, you can't really see it on. Like, I turned it on earlier. Let me see. I just turned it on again. And I can kind of see that it's on, but I can't see anything on the screen. And I'm sure you guys, you can probably see it now, but from here you just don't see it. So, and that's just a safety feature too. If your wife or anyone, whoever's sitting over here, is watching a show or whatever, then it would be a distraction to you while you're driving. Alrighty, so we made our last turn back to the, well, actually this is the second last turn back to the dealership, and that's where we pretty much are off. I think we're going to probably end off about the same here. If you're on the highway cruising on flat roads, you probably can get 18 miles to gallon, but I wouldn't expect much more than that though. I think that's all of it. And it takes time too. One thing you have to consider is once you get to 10 to 15,000 miles, these gas engines really do get better with mileage. So as time goes, you'll see a little bit better fuel economy. I have the Grand Wagoneer's three main competitors. I have a Cadillac Escalade, Lincoln Navigator, and a Range Rover. So with the exception of the Lincoln Navigator, all of these have V8s. Now, one good thing to note is the Lincoln Navigator does not need premium gasoline, but the other three do. Now, out of the 4 SUVs listed, the Grand Wagoneer has the lowest fuel economy numbers, so that's something to consider. Now it does have a larger fuel tank, so it can go a little bit further in comparison with the Cadillac Escalade. Here's what it's going to cost it per 25 miles to drive, and then here's your 5-year spending for this big SUV, and then here's your annual cost for each of these. Now this is based off of 45% highway, 55% city, 15,000 miles annually. So if you don't know, this is fueleconomy.gov, and this is just a good area here just to kind of compare SUVs side by side or whatever you're looking at, just to give you an idea of fuel cost. Here's your backup camera. You do have a top view. You also have a rear view, and then you have a wide rear view. They call it rear cross path view, and then front cross path view, and then this is a frontal with the bird's eye or top view they call it, and then you have one for the back when you're reversing for a full screen, which is very clear, and you can zoom into that conventional hitch if you're towing something.